Welcome to part one of Latina Conference 2022, an online digital experience produced by Hispanic Lifestyle. This conference has played a very important part of Hispanic Lifestyle's 25-year history. In 1999, we gathered at a Southern California conference center, and for the last 3 years, we have connected with you online to share the stories of influential Latinas from throughout the United States. Before we begin, I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to join us for this very important conference that celebrates the success of Latinas across the United States. Our program is filled with messages from Latinas who will share insightful and empowering stories with you. This production would not be possible without the underwriting support of Wells Fargo Bank, Credit.org, Energy Upgrade California, Southern California Gas Company, and Union Bank. Thank you so much for supporting our mission to promote positive images of our community. Now it is my pleasure to introduce Valeria Esparza-Chavez, representing Wells Fargo Bank, a key partner of Hispanic Lifestyle since 2013.
Well, hello, my name is Valeria Esparza-Chavez, and on behalf of Wells Fargo, I'm so pleased to participate in the Latina Conference 2022. I'm based out of El Paso, Texas, and I've been working over the last 16 years as a financial services professional at Wells Fargo. Most recently, I joined the Wells Fargo Home Lending team as a Hispanic segment strategy lead. This is a part of our broader strategy in our new role on our team dedicated entirely on helping Wells Fargo to become even more focused in providing the lending products, programs, partnerships, services, and support needed to strengthen and serve the Hispanic homeownership. So the goal of advancing Hispanic homeownership to me is actually personal. I'm a daughter of immigrants, and I was born in Ciudad Juarez, Chihuahua, which is just a couple of miles of the border here where I live in El Paso, Texas. My parents brought me to the United States when I was 9 months old, and their motivation was to take part in the American dream, joining millions of immigrants from across the globe that really come to this country with that optimism, that work ethic, and that hope to give their children a better life. And home ownership really gave my family that security and that stability to set roots in a safe neighborhood. You know, I think back and we were able to purchase a home. My parents were in their early 40s after they had an opportunity to save money and purchase their home. And that really gave my 4 brothers and sisters and I the opportunity to become college graduates and small business owners. And so I'm just really proud to be the first in my family to graduate from college, first to earn an MBA, and first to ever work in a corporate professional setting. And, you know, that's why I'm just really excited to be in this meaningful role and serve my community and help to make a difference.
What an amazing story. And talking about home ownership, I mean, which is the hottest topic right now. I watch news all day long, but in your opinion, from your perspective, what is driving this extremely hot market? Because I'm in California and it's hot as heck here, but you're in El Paso. So talk a little bit about that, if you will.
Definitely, Richard. And so one of the first things that I wanted to point out, it's definitely a hot market, but also specifically for the Hispanic and the Latino community. According to the Urban Institute, Hispanic Americans are on track to account for 70% of the home ownership growth and demand for the next 20 years. Over the next 2 decades, the primary consumer of home ownership is going to be Hispanics, are going to be Hispanics and Latinos. So, you know, that's approximately 4.8 million new homeowners that are coming from the Latino community, primarily because we're a very young demographic, really coming of age on when we're starting to want to have our own home and really, you know, still be a part of that American dream. And unfortunately, the Hispanic homeownership rate today is about 48.4%, which is below the average non-Hispanic homeownership rate of 58.3%. So the data really tells us that the future business opportunity and growth in homeownership, at least for the next 2 decades, is going to be driven by the Hispanic and the Latino community. So there's a lot of work for us to do as an industry to close that gap and to advance an economically equitable society for all, it's really good business. But in terms of what is driving the incredibly hot market now, I think a lot of it was triggered primarily from the pandemic, was very interesting to see a lot of people spending more time in their homes, really having to expand to have a virtual office in many cases, and spending more time maybe working out, really thinking through, what does it mean for me to have my home? I want to paint and really make it warm and inviting and a place to spend more time. And so that was one of the factors. And then also the really, really low interest rate environment that we saw in the past couple of years. Unfortunately, now those rates are starting to rise up again, but we're definitely in a purchase market, and it's definitely a seller's market with tight inventory in many places nationwide. So I would definitely say that it's continues to be an incredibly hot market. And although it's a hot market, it's really important to think about your own personal situation. And if you're in the process of wanting to think about starting to look at potential homes that you would want to buy, definitely think about being ready. And what I mean by that is looking into our finances, reviewing what would be comfortable from a monthly payment perspective. And then, of course, working with lenders like Wells Fargo so that you can get pre-approved and be ready when you're going out to start making bids on properties.
You've given me some great information. I know we're just scratching the surface on this, but does Wells Fargo have programs, additional tips that we didn't talk about here? Is there a website, a booklet? Where can I go to get more information way in advance of going out and thinking about purchasing a house?
Definitely, Richard. So I would say some additional tips to really think in mind. I talked a lot about preparing, thinking about your budget, affordability, what can you afford? And a lot of that is covered when you get pre-approved. And that really positions potential buyers to go out and start bidding for different properties. But I think it's also important to think about the future once you're in that property. What are some of the unexpected expenses that can come up? If you're purchasing a new home, new construction, are you going to have to put landscaping in? What about new furniture, et cetera? And, oftentimes there are all of these additional unexpected expenses that come up that are also a part of home ownership. And so really having that rainy day fund is important. If you're buying a property, an existing property that's, been built, in the past 20 or 30 years, there are also maintenance expenses that come up all the time. So experts really say that, generally it's about a 1% annual cost of the value of the home and maintaining that home, and just really thinking through how is that going to affect your monthly budget. And so, the goal definitely is to help and increase home ownership for our communities and underserved communities getting into the home, but also ensuring that we're positioning ourselves for sustainable home ownership. And so that means ensuring that we're prepared financially to stay in our home and to be able to pay off our home eventually, because that generates wealth, legacy wealth. That's generational wealth that we can pass on to our children and to our families, which is so critical in order for us to catch up in our community. And so I would definitely, talk a little bit about that as a financial tip. So now you asked about what is Wells Fargo doing in order to help to increase homeownership and also provide products and services and support for individuals to be able to purchase their home. And so we're doing a lot in terms of outreach, education, and also developing products and services that are really going to support and increase homeownership. One of those programs that we recently developed is Dream Plan Home. And this is a new mortgage conventional loan that allows for a low down payment that's a 3% down, and it also is based on the area median income. And so there are some income limitations. However, it's a great opportunity for first-time home buyers, as well as it provides in certain cases a closing cost credit of up to $5,000 to help pay for closing costs, depending on the market and where you are. So we're definitely thinking through the Dream Plan Home program as well. It provides flexible underwriting. And so, it's a great opportunity for individuals to think about that may be an option. But we have a wide variety of options, whether you're in the military or there's somebody in your family who's in the military, there's always a VA option that you can go up to 100% financing. We have, special benefits for union members and also, a variety of other non-conforming or jumbo loan products. So if maybe you're an entrepreneur, business owner looking to buy a larger home with a larger price tag, that may be also something that we can offer. So again, I would encourage you to get pre-approved. You can get in contact with one of our home mortgage consultants. And for more information, we actually have a website, and it's wellsfargo.com/myfirsthome. And that would really give you some in-depth education and information to review, and also you can start the pre-approval process.
It was nice meeting you, and thank you so much for spending time with us this afternoon.
Richard, it was so nice to meet you. I'm so excited to be here at this Latina Conference 2022. And I look forward to coming back and spending more time again. And thank you for everything that you're doing in the Latino and the Hispanic community.
I am of Cuban heritage. My family is from Cuba. My parents came on the Mariel boat lift in 1980. I was born here in Miami after my parents migrated from Cuba. My dad was a very successful actor in Cuba for a good amount of time. Like, if you want to compare him to someone here in the States, I would say my dad was like Brad Pitt in Cuba, as far as like film and TV shows. He was a very successful actor, and I feel like actors are storytellers, and I feel like we're all storytellers, not just actors. And some are better than others, as far as like being able to be descriptive or animated or just find the details in things. And my dad was always like that. My dad would always, tell us stories or say jokes, and I always loved that. And I feel like, we're all pretty artistic. Like I have a sister and a brother, and she loves to paint. They're both attorneys, but like they have an artistic side. I just feel like I just got my whole daddy's like blood. My mom too. My mom is a nurse, but she paints and she writes poems. But it's that whole thing of just being creative. You can find creativity in cooking, and I'm going off on a tangent. But period. You asked me where I'm from. I'm Cuban background, born in Miami, Florida. And proud to be a Latina.
I love it. Hey, well, that about covers it for today. No, I'm teasing.
Okay. Am I answering this is this very long-winded answers?
No, I love it. I'm asking you to talk with me today because you're part of our Latina Conference 2022 and sharing background and empowerment, inspiring stories about your background that quite honestly, if we were doing this conference in person, people, they feed off of that. They want to talk to you right after you finish your presentation. That's how this works. And honestly, you're conveying that. So I really appreciate it. And so with that said,
I really appreciate you taking the time to interview me and talk with me. And And it's such a pleasure to know you. You seem like such a cool dude.
Well, I think I am a cool dude.
You like one.
Thank you. I'm going to play that part for my wife.
All right. Respectfully,
exactly. Respectfully. Hey, so I want to talk a little bit about the acting bug, if you will. How did it get in you? You mentioned your father, but you've got some chops here. I mean, reading through your bio, man, you're tackling Shakespeare. So, I mean, sounds like you're a serious actress.
Yeah, I did. My dad actually gave me my first acting book when I was about, I think, 8 years old. And he was always very disciplined and very focused. And he always told me, listen, you can do whatever it is you want to do in life, but you definitely have to put in the work and you have to, put in your time, because it's not just showing up and, that's what separates the basically the boys from the men. And so from a very young age, when I was in elementary school, I played Juliet in Romeo and Juliet's Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. I've studied and trained with many people, the university and in the theater program. And then I've also trained privately, and I feel it's important to really learn and to immerse yourself if you're looking into doing whatever it is you're doing. And that experience, I think it really just, it makes a difference. It sets your work aside from someone who's not as prepared. So I think it's important, and everybody's journey is different, and there is no one story or one recipe for success, because it's we got 5 donut shops and everybody has a different recipe, but it's just, what do you bring to the table, and how have you polished that and done to make yourself, as authentic and as watchable as far as acting is concerned as possible. So,
well, I think it's interesting because
I think you're waiting for me to keep going.
I did. I'm going to be honest with you. I was waiting for what is it? Is it coming back? Is it? I am leaving this part in. I guarantee I'm leaving this part in. So, but one of the things that really caught my eye about you was the business. I always admire people that, yes, I have that creative side. There is just this passion about being a performer and about being an entertainer. But at the end of the day, it's about business. So I really am intrigued about your business background as well too. And if you don't mind, how do you balance that? Where the creativity, and you've had your own business all along, have you not?
Right. So my background is in business, and I feel that it's very important to work on things that you're not as good as, but it's double down on your strengths. And so for me, it's been networking, connecting with people, networking, business. And so is this a lead on to what you were going to ask me you asked me a little while ago, or do you want to just kind of surprise everyone with what you asked?
Let's surprise everybody.
Okay.
I think you're blowing the surprise here. I'm not
blowing anything. You can edit this out. So my background is in business. I've had several different businesses. I've built, I've owned a bakery at one point. Like I said, cooking and baking is a creative outlet as well. I've owned, I've worked in healthcare. I've worked in marketing. I've worked in just different outlets. And so my background is in business. So I really understood the concept when I stepped into acting professionally over 10 years ago. I really looked at the idea of all right, this is a creative job. This is a creative work, but there's a big portion of it that's a business. And I think that a lot of people, when they first get into acting, they don't understand that it is a business. It's a business like any other. You are the person putting your service out there as far as entertainment and art, but there's a business to run. And so there's always, I feel like there's a disconnect also in that department, which happened also with me at the beginning, because I was kind of well, acting, how does this work? Your agent, this, that, the other, but then it's all right, understanding and putting that puzzle together. So that was something that was very beneficial to me at the beginning and throughout my career.
But you're in Miami.
I'm in Miami.
Yeah. But you're in Miami, and I think of the entertainment industry as in Hollywood. I mean, did you make a journey to Hollywood to start out that phase, or were you able to maintain a home base in Miami?
So my home base is in Miami, and I'm married. I have 3 kids. And I knew that this was going to be a challenge, or a little bit more of a challenge for me than someone who didn't have children or wasn't married. So I said, all right, what's the plan? How is this going to work? Because you're right. A lot of projects, especially when I first started out, it was, in-person auditions, if you had a callback and whatnot. The beauty of it was that, I also told my agent, I said, listen, I started with a local agent, and I got a regional agent. And then now, like, I'm, LA, Nashville, Memphis, Atlanta. I have agents nationwide as far as like my representation. But at first I told my agent, listen, if you need me to fly out because we got a potential project that's like I'll fly out. And so I've put in my, what is it? I put boots on the ground where I'm like, all right, I'll fly out for a good callback, get on a plane, fly to New York, go to my callback, fly back to the airport. I'm in the airport for a good 6 to 9 hours in that day, fly back home, and I'm home, at night. So it hasn't been easy. It's not a road that's easy, but the beauty of it is that when self-tape has been around for, I would say, a good 5 to 7 years, when it first kind of just got real. And then now it's like the thing. A lot of casting directors or producers, when they want to see someone come in either for a callback or a test or chemistry read or whatnot, it's already, but everybody can self-tape. You put up, backdrop, you do self-tape. So I was able to create a studio in my home in Miami, audition, my representation sent me the information. They would send me the breakdown. They say, all right, this is what you got. I'd work, I'd do my process, get my stuff, my prep, put it on tape, submit it, make sure my deadlines, were where they had to be, and flew out if I had a callback, showed up if I had, a lot of callbacks also are on Zoom. So the beauty of this work, what I found is that working remotely has become the norm. And of course, yeah, there is travel. I just came back from Australia from shooting Young Rock, and I live in Miami. So you're talking about 10,000 miles. So yeah, I did have to be there for a good portion, like 5.5 months. But to book the job, I booked it from my studio in Miami.
Wow. Now you're really giving, not to step on you, but now you're giving me some real inside information. So Young Rock, let's talk about how you connected with Dwayne Johnson, otherwise known as The Rock. And it wasn't the first project you did with them, the production company. Tell me the connection and why it keeps circling back around to you.
It's honestly, I feel like it's kind of kismet. It's full circle moment. I first booked, first project that I did with Dwayne Johnson was Ballers. I was a co-star, played Tanya on Ballers, pharmacist. If you saw it, didn't see it, you can check it out. It's season 2, episode 2 of Ballers. And I worked with him, and he is just amazing. He's such a cool guy, so down to earth, so professional, so much good energy, vibes. Just working with him on set was that energy is just, it's great. It's contagious. So worked great. We, 6 years later, that was in 2015, 6 years later, I actually went in person to audition for Ballers at Lori Wyman Casting. And that was at her office, and I booked it off tape. And then 6 years later, I did the tape here in my studio. And then I booked Young Rock. So working with him, funny story, and I'm not sure if I was able to tell you this, but about 20 years ago, I met Dwayne and Danny at the gym. I was with my brother. It was Porky's gym in the Hammocks area. And Dwayne was, this big wrestling star back then. And if you watch Young Rock, you're going to kind of see a little bit of, and my brother sees him and he's like, oh my God. Did you see who came in the gym? It was Dwayne Johnson. The Rock. He didn't say Dwayne Johnson. He was like, The Rock. And I was like, all right. He's like, come on, you have to go get his autograph. I was like, stop it. I'm like a teenager. I'm not going to go to, man and ask him for his, because I kind of saw wrestling, but I didn't see it as much as my brother. And he's like, please, I'll do anything. I was like, fine. So I went inside and I said, listen, my brother's out there and he wants your autograph. So we went to the front desk and he wrote his autograph on a napkin, and he was with Danny. I actually told Dwayne the story and he laughed it, and then I told Danny the story and she says to me, she goes, wow, that's amazing because you're actually playing me right around the same time you met me. And I was like, oh my, wow, yeah. How full circle is that? Like how, so ever since then, when like I said, background in business, I've always admired Danny's trajectory, her career. She's also of Cuban heritage.
Oh yeah. I mean, she's I admire her tenacity, she's a pioneer in her own right, in my eye, in my opinion, and very well respected and such a force. So for me, it's an honor to play someone as great as her, because she's really and she's so kind and so down to earth as well. And it's just just good vibes. Honestly, I like it's a dream role. It really is. It's a dream role. Well, I've watched on Hulu the first 2 episodes of the second season, and so do you ever get out of the that cubicle office?
Okay, so
that seems to be your go-to shot there.
Well, did you not see the scene in the couch that I was?
I did. I was very impressed. I thought, wait a minute, they're on a couch talking.
On a couch, on a couch.
But and I know it's acting, but I love your portrayal of her in those scenes and being that calming, reassuring yet strong Latina voice. What do they always say? A man needs the encouragement of a woman, and that's what you are providing in those scenes. So I appreciate it. I took notes.
I feel playing Danny on the show is definitely it's awesome because it's what you're saying. So throughout his life, when they met, she was the voice of support, the voice of guidance, the voice of encouragement. He has an incredible work ethic. He's always had an incredible work ethic, and you can see his trajectory and his story. And she has been such a guiding and such a strength in his life, and such a great support as part of the whole team, that's what I feel. Well, you said it came across and you felt it, and it's that's basically what it is. She's his girlfriend at the time. I mean, you got to see the rest of the show, but
I'm not gonna.
I don't want to make any spoilers.
No. I mean, it's there, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody. But again, knowing further down the line in the storyline, I mean, they become partners, fantastic partners, and I don't know that one gets to do anything without the other, so to speak. So,
she's a powerhouse in her own right, and she has so much. Like, I admire her career, and I honestly, I'm just like, wow, first woman to own a major football league, the XFL. She's partners with him in $7. She's GSTQ, which is her line she just launched. She's part of the Zoa Energy. I mean, everything. She's architected. She is the global strategic advisor for his enterprises. Their enterprises. She is a chairwoman for the whole brand, the whole everything that they've created together. So I feel that it is definitely such a powerful position to be representing someone like that.
Now, I know we've spent a lot of time talking about it, but I really do want to know, as an actor, as an actress, how, at least in my opinion, this has got to be a little funky, strange, portraying somebody that's still alive and actually your boss right? Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean,
right. So it's basically, she is an executive producer on the show. And she is, definitely one of the executives. But when I when I work or when I would go on set, and I you know, you kind of tend to detach yourself from the whole idea of like, this is the corporate, you know, ladder, this is how it works, and she's my boss, I'm playing her. No, it's like, you know, you take away everything. Like, let me see the good, let me see the bad, let me see the insecurities, let me see the positive, let me see the negative. What's going on here, so you can authentically tell the story in the most like truthful way, and really just be the person, or, you know, make the best attempt to tell the story in the best way possible. So I talked to Danny for a good amount of time, and we had our calls. Like, she took my calls. Like, I remember asking one of the producers, like, would love to talk to her. And so she was like, yes, for sure. You know, we talked. I asked her a bunch of questions. We went through all this different, you know, like, just to get as much information as possible. And I also asked her, because at one point, like, I remember hair and makeup was like, oh, okay, well, what, you know, we're going to paint the nails. This is the 90s. We're going to do like a pink or a red. And I asked her, I remember one of my questions was like, listen, you don't seem like a pink or red. Not that I have anything against pink or red, but it was more like, you know, she goes to me, actually, you know what? I did French manicure a lot. And I did ballet slippers, and it was, you know, a little French manicure with like little square. And I said, you know what? That's actually awesome that you told me that. And I had my manicure done like that. And, you know, I normally wear my nails like this. I'm a little out there with the nails. So, and I knew a lot of my scenes were going to be with the phone. I just gave you a little BTS there, Richard.
Well, I love it. I mean, where else can you get other than our Latina conference?
Cubana is like,
no, you know, in fairness to everybody that's watching, can you go ahead and give us yet another close-up of those nails? Because I know my wife is going to ask me. And
this is actually called the geometric French. So over here, you got the fun, colorful side, the fun, colorful scenario. And then over here, we're like, oh, wait, are we corporatizing this? Are we corporatizing this? It's white. And this is colorful. It's called the geometric French. So we got one, you know, the white's a little higher, the colorful's a little lower. This is like the right brain side, the left brain side. This is like.
Hey, where else can you get?
So I get my nails done at Black House.
Inside information. Are
we? Is this gonna be like some Instagram? So this is Lack House. Carolina Ruby does my nails.
You're an actress, you're a mom, you're the family components, you bake, you're creative, and you actually have another job as the vice president in the entertainment industry. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so I actually started working with Ozzy Arubro Studios. It's the first major Latin studio in the United States. Major Latin studio, not like Latin studio, like major Latin studio. It's called Arubro Studios, and the studio's in Atlanta, based in Atlanta. And I am the vice president of content for the studio. So I actually started working with Ozzy about a couple of years back, and I just really admire what he's doing in the industry as far as empowering and putting the minorities and Latinos in, you know, and expressing their stories and telling their stories. And his vision and what he's doing is in line with what I want to do, because my goal eventually is to create my own show and where I'm in front and behind the camera. And so, you know, as an artist, as an actor, I think it's awesome to work and be in front of the camera and play and have these scenes. But I also think it's important to, in my opinion, to be behind the scenes and understand, okay, how do we produce this? How do we direct this? How do we shoot this? How do we put this together? And that's where like the business background comes into sense. And so for me, it's a challenge and it's an adventure, and I definitely take it on. I mean, it can be stressful at times, but yeah, that's my story. Okay, bye.
Wait a minute. I have a show.
Wait.
For you. I've got a pitch. What's your email?
Oh my God.
How do I get a hold of you? This is my favorite part to ask people as we close out, and that I interview, and especially during our Latina conference, and that is advice that you have received that you feel comfortable sharing with other women, Latinas, heck, even this guy.
I remember, I put a little bit of Dwayne Johnson into this too. When I was on Set of Ballers, I remember, working with him and asking him, I'm like, if you can give me any advice, what would it be? And he said, any advice. And he's like, I would tell you work begets work. Work begets work. And at first I was like, all right, work begets work. And then I was like, you know what? He's right. Like work begets work. And it goes back to jump into the class, take the yoga, do the workouts, your day-to-day, how you live your life. It's like, if you don't get to a moment where you're like, whatever it is, you're an actor, producer, podcast, whatever it is you do. It's like, you have your patterns, your things that you do on a day-to-day basis that make you the human that you are. And doing that every day will eventually get you into a rhythm of achievement, of success, of living an intentional life. And to women specifically, because I'm kind of going into a little tangent that happens sometimes, I would say own your uniqueness, authenticity over approval. I feel like those who stand out are those that own their uniqueness. And it sounds cliche, but every day I realize it more and more. What makes you quirky, what makes you different, what makes you unique, what actually just makes you weird is what's interesting and fun and different. And own it and keep going. And you're going to have shitty days and you're going to have amazing days, and just ride through it all and enjoy it and be in the present and just do it, man. Like, just keep going, that's my advice in like a little minute.
I love it. Arlen, I appreciate the time you spent with us this afternoon. And what a great way to finish off the week. So thank you.
Thank you, so Richard. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I've been in the janitorial industry for 22 years. This year marks my 22nd year of being in the industry. I started the business. I should say we started the business. I had a business partner. He was the one that encouraged me. And that was in November of 2009. We were dabbling and starting the business. I was a little uncertain, but I'll tell you, it was a customer that really changed my life. And she said one thing to me that just really impacted me. And I'm like, okay, I'm on the right route. She said, I'm doing business with you because of you. I don't even like your boss. And that changed my whole world. And it's just a reminder that there is no competition, Richard. People will do business with you because of you, because there's a lot of people doing janitorial. Just LA alone has over 2,000 cleaning companies, but we've still managed to grow over a $2 million company. So there's enough business to go around for everyone.
How, as an entrepreneur, do you grow your business when you just said it? And I believe it too. People want to do business with the owner, somebody they're familiar with, somebody they like. How do you expand your business? How do you operate your business in that environment?
It's really about relationships. I really believe I have customers that I've known for 22 years. As a matter of fact, one of them I met last week. We met to go walk a building, and we're talking like, oh my God, it's been 22 years. She was one of the first property managers I met when I started this industry. And I remember she was very she's on point. She knows her buildings, and she's probably one of the few property managers that I know that knows she knows where the outlets are in her building, right? So little things like that. And it's just been relationships, and you start cultivating the relationships. And once you've been in this industry for a while, people get to know you. You put your name is out there, and having the right employees. I think at the end of the day, number one priority is our employees. They're the ones keeping it clean out there. And we have to make sure we have a loyal type of employee, especially right now. We've been struggling hiring new hires, but yet I have people that have been with us for 14 years. So it's a bit of a balance.
I want to talk about growing your business now. the way I met you was through a networking event, and your involvement with the National Latina Women's Business Association. Was that a conscious effort on your part? Were you aware of the chambers of commerce, these business trade organizations, or was it something that somebody approached you on and said, listen, if you really want to grow your business, you need to be involved with them?
Well, something with the chamber, I've always been very involved with the chambers prior to even starting my business. Even when I lived in the Central Coast, I was part of the chamber. I was an ambassador for the Santa Maria Valley Chambers of Commerce. And then at the first chamber that I became a member of as soon as I started my business was the Los Angeles Latino Chambers of Commerce. I became a member of the National Latina Businesswomen Association in 2008 because I loved the dynamic that it was all about women entrepreneurs. And I remember I was volunteered by Rosalena Salceda, and she invited me to go to the awards. And then I'm out there in the hot sun registering people, checking them in. And I remember sitting way in the back of the auditorium and watching all these women go up there, all these entrepreneurial women. I was like, wow, I can't even imagine myself. Maybe one day I'll be up on the stage. Little did I know that in 2012, I would be up on the stage, acceptance speech of becoming the president for the organization. And it has been an amazing experience. I believe in the power of relationships. And if anything, being president of the National Latina Business Association back in 2012, 2014, really opened a lot of doors for me and also helped me build new relationships, not necessarily in my industry, in the cleaning industry, but other industries. So expanding our horizons, I think, is really important.
Well, now, having watched your career, and of course, we recognized you. By we, I mean Hispanic Lifestyle recognized you as one of our first Latinas of Influence back in 2014, I believe.
Yes.
With that said, your involvement now statewide with the California Hispanic Chambers of Commerce, you're a vice chairwoman. Talk a little bit about your role with the organization and why it's important that you're involved in getting other Latinas involved.
Absolutely. So I became a board member of the California Hispanic Chambers of Commerce back in 2016. And I wasn't sure what I was getting myself into. I was like, wow, this is a state organization. So I was very excited. From there, I moved to the regional Southern Region Chair for 2 years, did a 2-year term. And then I was elected to become the Vice Chairwoman. And I don't know if you know this, Richard, but I'm the first woman to serve as Vice Chair for this organization in the 43-year history. We've had one other, but it was a chairwoman, one other chairwoman. But as Vice Chair, it's always been a male-dominated. And I'm like, not surprised. I'm in a very male-dominated industry. The cleaning industry is male-dominated. But what I love about the chamber, we have a great leadership. You know, our chairman, Bob Gutierrez, Julian Canete, our president and CEO, and the staff, everybody works really hard. And it's just, I don't know how to explain it. I can't find the words, but it's just very, very satisfying to know that we're making a difference in small businesses throughout the whole state, not just in LA, but throughout the whole state of California, including some of our chamber members. And one of the things that's really important for us is Latina initiatives. As a matter of fact, this week, we are having a Latina Means Business webinar where we're going to be interviewing 4 phenomenal women from out the different regions of California. So we try, every time we do this, we try to pick a woman in the different regions. The chamber has 4 regions. We have the Northern region, we have the Central region, we have the Southern region, and we have the Inland Empire region. So we try to pick somebody dynamic, and it's really hard because, you know, in LA, I know a lot of people, but we're trying to make sure that we get everyone. And that's really exciting because we want to showcase all the women that are out there doing something. You know, our board consists of 50% board members that are women. And that's really powerful because I think it's important that we empower others, men and women, because I think we all need empowerment, not just women, but we all need empowerment. So I'm very happy to share that we have 50% women on our board.
One of the things that I really admire about the California Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is that during the pandemic, the time of the pandemic, basically they doubled down. I mean, they kept the operation going, offering resources, getting involved with the community, asking people how they can help. I know that they were part of the grant program. And so I just believe that organization really helped prop up not only Latino professionals, but all businesses throughout the state of California.
Absolutely. Julian and the staff out there have been working so hard. There was a moment where like, we're having another Zoom meeting. It was like Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting, workshop after workshop, and it's been great. Obviously, we were all at home, safer at home. So that was kind of the thing to do, be on Zoom. But they got to a point where like, I think I'm done with Zoom meetings. I don't want any more Zoom meetings. But that really helped pivot, and it really helped attract people that probably would never go to an in-person event. And I really feel that's what helped the chamber position itself in a much better position in helping small business, because that's really the mission of the organization, is to help small businesses.
I want to talk a little bit about personal development. Again, one of the things that I admire about you, because I follow you on Facebook and LinkedIn and social media, and you're very diligent about posting information about your business, the different activities that you're involved in. But one that really caught my eye was a few years back was Toastmasters. The fact that I'll let you talk about it. Why did you get involved with Toastmasters?
So I got involved in Toastmasters, I believe it was 2013, 2014. And I went because somebody was consistently inviting me, and they had just founded a group. And this group happened to be a bilingual Toastmasters, which there are not very many in LA. And the challenge with this Toastmasters club is that you have to practice the language that you need to practice the most. I'm bilingual, very fluent bilingual. I speak both Spanish and English. However, it was interesting because when I had to give my speech in Spanish, I got nervous, and I was like, oh, I don't need Toastmasters. I can speak in public. I have no problem speaking in front of an audience. But when I had to do it in Spanish, that was a very different dynamic. And so I've grown with Toastmasters. I've been a member now for 8-9 years, and I'm a distinguished Toastmasters. I like to say that, a distinguished Toastmaster. That means I've given over 35 speeches. And I had to do a leadership program, and there's a lot of things in order to become a distinguished Toastmasters. But one of the things that I've gotten out of this is to be able to better express myself, be able to capture an audience, because I think that's really important. And remember that when we're talking or expressing, you just can't go on and on and on for 20, 30 minutes because you lose people. So most of our speeches are composed of 7 minutes or less. And that was supposed to capture audience. My favorite thing that we do at Toastmasters is table topics. And table topics is improv speaking. Somebody will ask you a random question and you answer it. And it's really interesting because they might ask you one thing, but you might turn around and come out with something different. But that's what the beauty is about. It's improv speaking. So you just kind of go along. You don't make it up. It's really, the questions are always about true life events, things that have happened to you. So it's a fun experience. And let me tell you something. The investment to become a Toastmaster is under $200 a year. It's like less than, I think, wait a minute, under $100 a year. It's the best investment you could make on yourself.
My gosh, that's actually less than a full tank of gas in my
And lately, right? It's $45 every 6 months. And I think there's a one-time $20 fee. But to me, I just feel you never stop learning. I don't care what we've done in life or what level of education we have. We never stop learning. Every day we learn something new.
Well, you might have already answered my question, but one of my favorite questions to ask during our Latina conference is advice that you feel comfortable sharing with other women. Maybe they were words of wisdom that somebody shared with you that you feel that compelled to share with others.
There was somebody that gave the speech, and I don't want to quote who it was because I don't remember, but one of the things I'll never forget is somebody shared a speech that said, be that beacon of light for others to follow. And I hope that I am that beacon of light for other women to follow in my path. Especially, I have 5 nieces, and I want them to be proud of their tia, and they can follow on into a future leadership role when they get around my age.
Veronica, thank you so much for spending time with us this afternoon. Also, I would like to give you the opportunity to share with us some of your final thoughts, comments, if you will.
Well, thank you, Richard, and Hispanic Lifestyle. I really appreciate your time. And if anything, I'd like to leave you with this. Always believe in yourself.
So Jill, let's just start out with it. How are you? How you been? I haven't seen you since you were last on our cover,
which was a while ago.
I remember a while back. So, what you been up to? You been doing anything? No.
Yeah, a lot. Been doing a lot of things. Of course, always being a comedian. And toured nationally, you know, for stand up and did theater tours. And then it shifted, of course, when the pandemic happened and everything shut down. And luckily, I've always been an athlete. And in the past, like I've launched the boxing program at Equinox SoCal and things like that. So people started reaching out to me and said, oh my God, can you personal train me? And then it turned into this amazing business where I go to people's houses and I personal train, I change their body. I'm called the plastic surgeon of fitness. I've gotten this incredible title from the Beverly Hills ladies and men. And it's been so rewarding during this really rough time. And it kept my mind, I kept my schedule was like 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. I was like crazy during this time. And it was just like that flight or fight, thing that happened. My pup transitioned during the time. It was so traumatic. He was my right hand. He went everywhere with me in stand up. He has his paw print on like all the improvs over, the country. And it was just horrific, the grief and that being able to see people's bodies change and then be happier, and the appreciation really helped heal me during that whole process, because it was surreal to me. I've had people that have passed around me, but nothing at my hand, something that I took care of, which I thought, he has the best food, he has the best everything, nothing will ever happen to him, I'll live forever, And so when it happened, it was shocking to me. I was not prepared at the least. So fitness took off. And then during that process, I was still writing a lot. And a film of ours came out that me and Carlos Alazraqui wrote and produced called Witness Infection, that is streaming on all platforms right now. It's a comedy horror. So it was unfortunate we couldn't have a theatrical release, but it went there so you guys can all download it, rent it or buy it. And, and it was a very cathartic time. And I pivoted in my brain. I said, what do you really want? I think a lot of people ask themselves that question during this time. It's like, what do you really want? What brings you joy? And for me, it's creating. And I said, when stand-up started to come back and still these other variants are out and everything, I was like, I want to keep my people safe, the people that helped me heal during this process, and keep that business going. And then alongside, I'm going to pivot. And I started to become back more behind the camera, even though I've been as producer and writer. But now I started directing. So I directed a short that now will be out in sending out to festivals. I'm going to be directing another short. And I have some amazing mentors around me that as soon as the other restrictions lift for this horrible thing called coronavirus, then I'll be able to shadow them and do stuff like that. And then it's awesome. And especially as a Latin female, to be able to go behind the camera now and tell stories in that way, which I always thought directing was the future, possibly, but there's so much joy in it. I'm having so much fun being able to not only see the words, the actors bring the words to life, but now I can capture the vision of what I see in my head. Because I'm always on set, and I'm always like, yeah, but what about that? What about that? Like, but wait, what about this angle? And oh, this is cool. And the director's like, shut up, So it's really, really nice to have this like new way. And it's not easy, believe me. I've come to a good place, but in the beginning it was very confusing. You're just kind of like, I'm used to doing something all the time like this, and it's not happening anymore.
Well, you're definitely high, not to interrupt you, but
no, please
definitely, yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Hey, but you're definitely high energy, and, and it's kind of funny in the sense, revisiting parts of your life and reading different things. I mean, you're just bold. I mean, coming out and I was rereading your bio and such, just hopping in a car or some kind of transportation and coming out to LA to find a career as being a comedian. I mean, that story in of itself, in my case, I think it's kind of funny.
It's interesting because like right now, a lot of people move to Austin or to Atlanta, friends of mine. And the thought of me moving there now, I'm like, oh no, like, ugh. Like I love Los Angeles. But when I was moving from Miami to Los Angeles, there was not a thought. It was, this is where I need to be. This is where my home is. And not only because of the entertainment business, but I feel comfortable here. I feel in Miami, I was eccentric. And because I didn't do the norm of getting married and having kids back then. Now it's a little bit different now that a lot of more filming has come there, things like that. But when I was growing up, it was very secluded, very, very Latin. And, had the Cuban influence all around the board, whether if you were white, you still look like this, it didn't matter. And so everyone was getting married and having kids right out of high school. And I was like, I don't want to do that. And it was like a rebel, which now if you say that, everyone's like, whatever, like that's nothing. But back then it was very rebellious to do that. And when I came here to LA and I got off the plane, it was like, oh, there's people weirder than me here. I like this place. So yeah, this is my home.
I'm gonna fit in just fine. Just this past Sunday night when I was watching the Oscars, and I want to set my experience for you, and that is I was not watching the Oscars right away. My wife came home and she said, why aren't you watching the Oscars? And I said, okay, let's turn it on. I swear to you, the television hadn't been on for about 5 minutes when the slap heard around or seen around the world happened. And of course, I'm rewinding it because I'm thinking it's a bit and what have you. And then I see Will Smith's actually mouth, F you, don't you ever effing talk about my wife. And I thought, I know this is not a skit. Right. But immediately I started thinking about you because I knew we had this interview coming up. And I thought, my goodness, you're a comedian, a professional, somebody that goes in on stage. And it looked, in my opinion, like it was open season on people. If you don't like what a comedian's saying, just go up there and smack them. And I thought, God, have you ever been put in a situation that you really felt, that you might get harmed?
Yeah. So that, I think I was pretty nauseous for 2 days. And Chris Rock handled himself like a pro, like more than a pro. I mean, I was devastated with that kind of disgusting behavior from someone that is supposedly supposed to be a higher elevated being that is influencing millions of people. You're in a position of power, and I don't want to use that power word as though I'm power, because he did come off with a very God complex when he gave his speech. I'm a huge Will Smith fan, not anymore. Because I really feel like as a comedian, you're so vulnerable. And who knows if even Chris Rock even wrote that stupid joke. It was dumb. He was roasting so many people. And it was, she doesn't have a terminal illness. If that was the case, I'd be like, oh my God, why? But the fact he was just making stupid jokes about what, and she looks badass with that shaved head. She looks cool.
Thank you. She is a gorgeous woman. I mean, seriously, who else other than yourself maybe could pull off a
yes, like it's my best friend Deborah Wilson. She's African American from Mad TV.
Right.
She is badass. Like I love that look. It looks so cool. So he was just doing whatever. So it immediately took me to the place that it happened to me. I've never been physically violated, but I have been verbally violated and visually violated. I was at a comedy club. It was very late. It was early on in my career. And I was, when there's hecklers, I kind of like it because you just mess with them. And then the crowd wins, they laugh at that person, you win the crowd. And then that person's like, and it's kind of fun. It's a game that comics have played forever. And someone was in the audience, late show, and very drunk. And I started slamming him, but in a funny way, but borderline, it's late night. And this guy stands up and pulls his pants down and exposes himself completely and starts touching himself in a very vulgar manner. I was in shock, and the security came, rushed, threw him out, and the girlfriend started screaming at me. And I'm thinking, why would you be screaming at me? I'm like, what is going? And left, and I still had 10 more minutes on stage. And I had to fill that space. And it was like everything was shaking, because you're just like, why? What did I deserve to have this kind of violation? Because I'm just being silly. I have a microphone. That's my job. It was horrifying. So when that happened to Chris Rock and the way he handled himself, I was like, bravo, because I know that feeling of, you're just like, what was that? And here he is on national television. I mean, not even national, worldwide television.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And it is just like, oh my gosh. And so for me, again, it made me feel sick. It made me feel as though he has opened the doors for people that are in comedy clubs. Now, if someone says something, they're going to feel righteous to stand up and do something, or do something behind closed doors when the comic's walking to their car. It really scared me. And I thought, what can he do to make this better? Like, what can he do? Because apology is not enough. You have got to do something of service now and make this better, because now you've given permission to all these other people that don't have that kind of clout that you do, that don't care that cameras aren't on them, that are going to make these attacks and think it's okay subconsciously. They will think it's okay. So it was on all levels, was so disturbing. And the fact that when he came up and he won, the audience gave him a standing ovation. I felt like, did you not see what I saw? And when he talked, it was, I'm a vessel, I'm here to protect. And I said, did you not realize what you just did? Like, this is your opportunity right now to make it better, to say, this is a statue. This is a three-dimensional object. What I did was wrong. I'm going to put that aside for a second, and I'm going to say and and take responsibility for that. If in that moment that might have happened, things might be different, but he became very superior. And that's when I went, what are you? You're not God, and it's like, I know we all have godlike nature in us because we're images of God and the creator, whatever you want to call it. It's, but you don't have that marionette. You're not, it was just sickening. So yeah, I could go on and actually.
No, and I agree. And I thought if anybody felt the same way, and I started texting some of my friends right away, and it was just a bizarre to this moment. Mm-hmm. It is bizarre. So what makes Jill-Michele laugh? What do you think's funny enough to actually put into one of your, whether it's a script or into the show? What makes you laugh?
I think if you asked me that 10 years ago, I would have told you a cartoon version of whatever is the truth makes me laugh. Like when someone amplifies it and makes it more character-y or whatever. I really used to love that world, coming from Mad TV and all. I loved character work. Now, as I get older, I find that when you ground yourself more in a reality and deliver it with more of the realness of it, it makes me laugh so hard. I laugh so hard when someone's just being themselves and they're saying things, but they're not even trying to be funny. I am like, oh my gosh, like it is. Because in my brain, I think rhythm. So if their cadence or their timing hits and they're just being real, I will hold my stomach laughing. And now when I'm watching someone performing, I'm more like, oh, that was clever. Oh, like I'm just like
you're overanalyzing it. You're
yeah. I'm processing the joke. I'm seeing the setup. I'm seeing whatever. But in person, you know, and I have a lot of great funny friends around me that are just funny people. You know, they're not like weird off stage and then act a different way on stage. They're just funny people.
They're just funny.
Yeah.
I saw your movie, This Is Meg.
Oh yeah, that was a while ago.
That was a while ago, and you know, the whole experience. I'm sitting there watching, and it's a well produced product. You know,
that was a very indie product.
But it was very well produced. I mean, the quality and all of that. I mean, it didn't look like you shot it on your home camera, is what I'm. Or an iPhone.
No, it was, and then look, the cast was amazing, and they're my friends that showed up for me, and you know, it was a slice of life narrative, and it was my first feature film that I was actually writing and producing, and of course starring in, because then it's cheaper because I don't have to pay myself, you know. So, and it was really cathartic, and the whole experience was just so amazing that I knew at that point what I can do just from my old days back in Miami, that guerrilla style filmmaking. Now we have, you know, real cameras, real lights. And I go, if I can do this for this amount of money and make that money back, imagine what I can do with this. And then that's what we did with Witness Infection. I upped the budget, you know, by $500,000, and we were able to produce that project, which unfortunately, of course, the pandemic happened. However, it still gave me that clout to show this is what I can do for that, because it's interesting how you talk to studio execs and they're like, you did it for what? Like, you're like, are you kidding? And my short film that I just shot, I shot on my iPhone and I edited in iMovie because I wanted to prove a point. I created a rig for the camera and everything. And made it happen. And I sent it to a mentor, a friend of mine, and he was like, that was really great. He's like, what did you shoot on? The Red? What was that? What I go, that was my iPhone. He goes, what? It's all about the storytelling. It really is. And if you are a good producer, you can make it happen. But that's the thing. I know how to edit. I know how to do.
You know timing. You know
Yes.
It works, and you have a vision. And again, that's what I admire about you, is that you're just going to get it done. You and I have both been around people that just talk. Well, if I only get that funding, if this only happens, or if that only happens, bottom line is you're getting it done.
Exactly.
Speaking of getting things done, you just got a dual citizenship. What? Seriously? Dual citizen? You're not happy being an American?
No, it wasn't enough. I actually got it. My father is from South America, from Bolivia. And it all stemmed from, I was talking, at the beginning of the pandemic when I was like, what am I going to do? What's happening? And I called, he's a pretty big producer, and I called and said, I want to come work with you. Is there anything? And he was like, what are you talking about? Like, I was like, is there anything I can do to work with you? And he was in another country filming something. And he said, unfortunately, I'm in this country and we can only allow so many Americans per project under the laws or whatever. And he goes, but wait a second. He goes, isn't your dad South American? And I said, yeah, Bolivian. And he goes, you should look into getting a dual citizenship. And he said, the reason being is because there's projects filming all over the world. And he's like, and if you have dual citizenship in South America, and I have a project that comes up that requires that we're thinking about shooting in South America, you can be the lead producer and I'll bring you on as a partner. And I went, what? And I thought that was the light bulb went up. I had a project in my brain to do. So like, I'm going to get dual citizenship now. So it was a lot of work, a lot of waiting, because you have to go to the consulate and you just sit around and you wait. But during that process, I realized that it didn't even matter if I'm lead producer on a project in another country. My dad and I got so close during this time, and he became so proud. And I went, this is what it's about. This is about me and my father, this journey together. And you know what? I didn't get married. I didn't give him grandchildren. And this is like a grandchild for like, and it's indirectly the same kind of feeling of that proud. He's so proud. And you get all the paperwork and everything. It used to be where you would get the card, everything in US, but now because of COVID, they don't fly from Bolivia over here as frequently. So we were advised, like, if you want the actual card, because I have all the paperwork, I'm like a complete now dual citizen, but they said you need to go to Washington, DC or to Bolivia. So I just called my dad, said, you want to go to Bolivia? And I haven't been to Bolivia since I was 15 years old. And he's so excited. So we leave in the middle of April and we're going to go to South America. We're going to do this together. And since a child, I've heard him talk about this hike that he goes up this mountain and sees the vision of Virgin Mary that everybody does. And we're going to do that together. And I'm like, this is going to be the coolest trip because he's getting older, you know, and so am I. We're all getting older. And it's like, how many times am I going to be able to do this? You know? So I was like, this is the time we're doing it.
Hey, I think we're going to wrap this up. And before I do, again, thank you for your time. But more importantly, I want to give you an opportunity to share with everyone your final thoughts.
That's a big loaded question, right?
Thank you. I thought I did very well on the setup. I was
oh my God,
waiting for that thoughtful, elegant, response,
My final thoughts are this: just breathe and enjoy.
Is it okay if I call you Alexia?
Of course, yes.
Thank you. And
I prefer that, and especially because my last name has changed since you all saw me on the show. My last name is now Nepola, so it's Alexia Nepola.
Well, congratulations. Yeah, well, I want to, I can't help it. I can't help this, but not many people know this about me, but yes, I love television. And you guys do such a wonderful job of sharing your stories, but I know you get asked this all the time. Is the drama real?
It is, I feel like the drama is real for whoever is like going through it. Like, drama is like a big word. There are all different kinds of drama, like in our season, for example, right? So some people would say like my drama is like the family drama or like a little different from the other ladies, so it's, and I don't even like to call it drama, I just like to call it like real life situations, that happen in all of our lives. And it's just like how you handle it. And in this case, I'm open about it because I'm on a reality show and, and the show documents my life. And this is what was going on in my life when we filmed last year. So you got to see that, moving forward, when the cameras are around, they'll capture, and grasp whatever I'm going through in my life, which is hopefully, like I always hope for something, beautiful and happy and just, good moments. But, the truth is that, life is what it is. There's happy moments, there's sad moments. And this is what you saw in my season 4.
Well, I want to continue on this path. I've got so many questions I want to ask you, but first of all, I'm sure everybody wants to know on our side is that how did you get approached to do the show? And this is a lot to unpack. What was it about you that you felt that you would feel comfortable sharing very personal, intimate stories of your life?
Right. Well, I feel like, first of all, when I got into it and I was approached to be part of the show, I really didn't know what the show entailed. It was kind of like, it was fun. It was something new. By the way, it was many, many years ago, which reality TV was a little different. And the socials, there were no socials. There was no Instagram. For the first time I was asked to get Facebook. So just the whole world was a lot different 11, 12 years ago. So that's to begin with. And then I feel like not knowing what you're getting yourself into, ignorance is bliss. It was kind of like, it was something fun. It was something new. I always thought it would be good for my business. And that was like one of the most attractive things that caught my attention. That back then I had the Venue magazine. So I was like, it's like something that the entire world would get to see. So there I am, like thinking about business. But at the same time, they're not going to promote so much your business, for you just like showing up. You also have to give, of yourself. This is really the kind of show where that's real. That has to be authentic and raw. And it really, showcases who you are, as a character, but who you are in your real life with your family. So that's how it happened to me. And like moving forward, I think like Alexia has been like a progress. I don't think I was so open, like let's say when we first started in season 1. I want to say it was also a different kind of show, like for me at least. And then I feel like with age and just like experience and wisdom, I've gotten to where I am today where I'm just okay with, talking about things that I wasn't okay with talking about maybe 10 years ago. It's just something within myself. I started writing a book and just like jotting down things about me. And I was like, you know what? I shouldn't be ashamed about these things. I'm actually proud. I am the woman that I am today because of all of these experiences. So, I took a different approach, instead of being like embarrassed and ashamed about a lot of these things that have happened to my life, I said, wow, like these are really like incredible things that I've been through all these things and I am still standing strong and I just come back stronger and I don't give up. So I started like patting myself on the back and saying, you know what, like you're like inspiring, you can like help a lot of people. There's a lot of people that, look up to you, that every time they're in a situation like that, they say, well, like she was able to do it. And, I can give them like that hope. So I think just like the last 10 years, my Alexia, like as a person has evolved so much and has grown up so much. And like I said, that made it a lot easier for this, season for me to come back and to be able to talk about a lot of these things that I wasn't able to talk about before.
Well, I know that it's not exclusive to the Latino culture, but I know at least in my family, hey, what happens at our house stays in our house. We're private. We just don't talk about this. I was watching one of the episodes. You include your mother, who was sharing some advice with family members. And can you talk about that dynamic of trying to pull the rest of the family into really, for lack of a better phrase,
I mean, I grew up like, right. Well, so I grew up like an environment like you, especially, being, Cuban descent. And, back in the day, it was like the children were not allowed to be in certain conversations. Our parents wouldn't include us in anything that they thought might hurt us. It was like to protect us. You know what I mean? It's like they didn't want to give us all this information because like our little heads couldn't deal with it. And it wasn't like appropriate, right? So I grew up in a bubble, that's the truth, and even with my kids, I started kind of like going down that path and that direction. But I also found myself not wanting to do it because I knew that it wasn't so healthy for me. So I kind of try to work on a lot of things, with my kids and do it differently. But at the same time, I kind of find myself doing the same thing, not about a lot of social issues, I'm very open about that, but about other things, just being like the overprotective mom, like butting, into their business, and just like snooping around and just kind of like, just like on top of them, right, the whole time. And not, really like letting them be independent, in a lot of their decisions. So I grew up like that. But nowadays, this is a different world. I mean, it's completely different. And I feel like it's up to us and like our children to continue to do that. I mean, there's no right way or wrong way. There's no research that says, oh, well, it was healthier back then. Like your kids not knowing anything, just, there's really not the right answer. So, I feel like as a family, you have to do what's best for you. And, for me, it's always been kind of about like talking things through, and coming together, as a family. My mother was a psychiatrist, so she was very therapeutic. We always talked about everything. And, but with respect, you know what I mean? It's kind of like we would talk about whatever she thought was okay to talk about. Believe me, it wasn't just like about anything or everything. But as we got older, I realized, how important having a good communication, with your parents and with your children and with your friends, with your family, your employees, just with everybody. I mean, it's just like everything. So, I tried to learn a little bit from my mom and just from everybody and do the best that I can, as a parent.
I want to get into your entrepreneurial spirit. I did read that at one point you were a fellow publisher. We used to publish a magazine as well too, so
Yes.
we can share that sympathy. But what is it about you, your background, your upbringing, that you possess the entrepreneurial spirit?
Yes. So I feel like my mom played a huge role, in my entrepreneurship, and just like wanting to get ahead, studying, and just like, always being active, feeling productive, having a purpose in life. I had a very strong mother figure. My mother was a doctor, when nobody was going to medical school, 70 years ago, 60 something years ago. So, she was always a very strong woman. And, she always really encouraged me to study, to have a degree, not to have to depend on any man or on anybody. And, she said, they can take anything away from you, but they can't take away your education, and your degree. And I think her as a Cuban immigrant, having to leave, her country and leaving everything behind, having to start over again in this country, really taught her that. I think my parents' generation, did such a great job in being able to settle here in America and, work hard and, kind of remake it again in this country and be able to call this country, the US their country. And it's something that they always instilled in us. You have to work hard, you have to have a degree, you have to believe in yourself, you have to have a purpose, you can't take shit from anybody, you know what I mean? Because it's we lost it all, and we risk all this for our freedom. So I feel like my mother, really played a huge part in who I am today as a woman and, wanting to, better myself professionally and personally.
So how do you go from publishing a magazine to owning Alexia and Frankie?
Right. Well, I feel like everything I've done in my life, in my professional life, I've done when I've wanted to do it, and I've really enjoyed it to the fullest. I mean, I was a school teacher, and nobody would think sitting here that I was a school teacher, right? So I started volunteering some hours at a school by my house. And when I was pregnant with Peter, and I actually wanted to go to law school. And that's what I always wanted to do when I was growing up, besides be a real housewife and a home mother, but a real one, not on a show like I am today, right? But I think they got confused. It was a subliminal message, and God said, okay, well, I'll put you on the show. But no, so for real. So I always wanted to do that, and I'm a former educator, and I loved what I did for 10, 11 years, but then I knew I didn't want to stay in the classroom forever. So I was looking at different opportunities, but then I had the opportunity to open this magazine with my husband at the time, Herman, and I jumped at it. And I was I always loved writing, what woman doesn't love, fashion and beauty and just everything that went along with it. But I kind of had to earn it. It's not we opened the magazine, I kind of worked behind the scenes and, for a couple of years before I proved myself and I became the publisher of the magazine. It was a lifestyle Latino and Spanish magazine. And it was beautiful. We did that for 10 years. Then unfortunately, Herman passed away. And because of family reasons, the magazine was closed. And like I said, I always have to be doing something. I think that's my biggest therapy, to stay mentally active. And, I don't have time to complain or to get depressed or to do anything else. It's I got to keep moving. And I was a customer at this beauty bar, and a man owned it. And I was my God, this is pretty cool. I've always wanted to have a business like this, but I've never kind of had to do it because the other opportunities have kind of come to my hand. But with him, in this case, he's really, well, I might be selling it. And I said, well, you have a buyer right here. So I started negotiating with him. And a few months later, it was my beauty bar. It was actually a nail salon. And I used to go with Frankie all the time there too, because I'm always with Frankie, or Frankie's always with me, or we're together. And I had it a couple of months, and it was the name of the salon back then. But I wasn't 100% happy because it wasn't it was I didn't feel like it was Alexia's. I needed to make it pretty. I needed to have other services. And that's what I did. I named it because Frankie was always there with me. Those first 3 months, we worked so hard to get that going. And I looked at him and I said, Frankie, we should call this Alexia and Frankie's Beauty Bar. And he's like, yeah, Mom, I like it. So we did. And I've been there for 5 years already. And I love it. It's always what woman doesn't love nail polish and makeup and lashes and spray tan and massages and facials? We started adding all these services as we went along, because I wanted a one-stop shop, where I felt women can do their nails, but if they're like, oh my God, I'm so white, you know, oh, don't worry, I have spray tan. Let's go do a spray tan. Oh my God, like my lashes. I'm like, okay, we'll do your lashes. So it's like, we do everything there. We make beautiful, women already come in beautiful, but they come out even more beautiful and feeling good. Cause you know, Frankie and I are very like therapeutic. We love people. We love to talk to people. So it's a little bit of everything.
Speaking of which, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask, are you planning to expand specifically to California and my Menifee Valley here so my wife would have some place to go?
Oh my God, I would love that. I love California. I love New York. I like so many great cities, but I mean, I don't know about in California, but here in Miami, it's so hard to get good help. So that's been like one of my biggest challenges here. Even I was, you know, thinking of opening a second location in a different area here in Miami, actually Coconut Grove, which I love. But it's so hard, you know, to find employees here. And I'm not so good with delegate. Like I need to be so hands-on that I just can't know. You know, even like today, I haven't been there yet, and I'm already like going to like withdrawals. Like I need to get more done with you. Yeah, it's hard. You know, I wish I can say yes, but you know, sometimes you have to be very careful with that. You know. Because yes, it's great here, but you know, I don't know how it's going to be, you know, in the West Coast, especially because I won't be able to be there. If there were more Alexias, then yeah, or more Frankies.
There you go. I also want to, leads me into my next question. What's next? What else do you have? I mean, you keep talking about being busy. You've got the Real Housewives of Miami. You've got a business going. What is next for you?
Well, so I'm writing a book, which I actually started to write a few years ago after Frankie's accident. And I find myself adding a lot more chapters, you know, to that book. It's more like a memoir. You know, I think a lot of people are really fascinated with, you know, my life. And I'm at a point in my life where, like you said, I'm like open about it. I would love to share it. You know, I feel like, you know, I can, you know, help so many people but also make it like, you know, it's not like a self-help book, you know, it's just like a story, you know, about me. You know, you've seen a little bit of my life on TV, but, you know, it never really captures the whole thing. You know, obviously we're filming for 3 months. And in that case, you know, the show could have been all about me because I always have so much going on. So I'm going to continue to work on my book. I would love to have like my own nail polish line. I'm working on that too. And yeah, I became like obsessed with nail polish. And so I'm trying to do that. And, you know, living a happy marriage life, you know, dedicating more time to, you know, to my new husband, even though we've been together for so many years and travel and to my family. I mean, I think that that's really, you know, as a woman, you know, we have like so many different facets in our life, you know, that we have to, you know, be good at. And, you know, sometimes it's difficult, but I try to do my best and find, you know, that balance where I dedicate enough time to, you know, the important things to me, which obviously is my family at the top, and then, you know, my business and everything else. And, you know, we're, you know, moving on. The show did really well. So, you know, I know we'll be doing another season. So, you know, that's exciting too. But, you know, it never really consumes my life because since I really have like all these things going on, it's like the show just adds to it. You know what I mean? Like it just like brings the camera, it documents everything that's going on. And, you know, and we just move like right along.
Well, speaking of moving along, I actually have a couple more questions for you. And one of them is a question I love asking is that because this is our Latina conference, advice that you would be willing to share with other women, maybe some words of wisdom, something that was passed down to you, something you feel comfortable sharing with our audience.
Right. Well, I mean, you know, I feel like sometimes a lot of these like lines are like cliches, you know, that people tell you and stuff. But, you know, I think, you know, as a woman, I feel that my mother, I had such a strong example. So I was blessed with that, you know, because a lot of times we don't have like those role models. But, you know, I had a role model of a very strong woman. So, you know, I feel that all of us, you know, I feel like all the women, you know, have this within us. You know, and Latinas, I think even more, you know what I mean? It's like we have like this thing inside of us and not to let that go, like never accept no. It doesn't matter who you are, what age you are, what you look like, where you know, your descent is from, like, it doesn't matter. So it's like, never accept no, you know, work hard, be positive, you may not have a good day today, but tomorrow will be better. Like I always say that. And, I never give up on your dreams. The dreams is something that, and I think that we've seen that more now than every day, all these stories, success stories that we see about people that, never had these opportunities, or that, got, their doors closed, many times, and yet they kept on doing it. I know it's easier to say than to actually do, but, there's help out there. There's like so many people, entrepreneurs that are willing and ready, to give conferences or to talk to people. Like, go to those conferences, read those books, and, associate yourself with the right people, internships. The young girls, when they get out of college, I think that's life-changing. I remember having the magazine and having, my favorite part was like dealing with the interns. And a lot of my interns I hired today, like Jonathan was an intern. My other friend, Johnny, that came out on the show, he was an intern. All my best employees were all my interns. And I think it's because they really got to experience like what they had studied and said, this is what I want. So if to all the young women, go work or intern like at a place where you like the role model, where you like the leader, because that makes a big difference. I'm happy that I've been able to make a big difference in a lot of my interns' life, and they think of me and they thank me and they tell me, I've gotten to where I am today because I had a role model like you. So I'm happy that I was able to do that. I had it from my mom, and from my dad too. My dad was very successful as well, but you know what I mean? Like, we're talking about females now and whatever, but in general, I grew up in that culture. So yeah, I mean, that's the best advice, that I can give, any young woman. And, we're going to change our minds. Look at all the different things I've done in my life, right? I was a school teacher. I wanted to be an attorney. Then I was a school teacher. Then I was a mom. Then I was a stay-at-home mom. Then, I opened up the magazine. And now I have a beauty bar. And, I really didn't go to school for any of this. I mean, I did go to school for education, and I have my master's in special ed. And look how crazy life is, that 15 years later, I had a son who was involved in an accident, and all my education and teaching really helped my son as I was recovering him. So like, you never know, you know what I mean? Like, life is short and fragile, but it also takes like a lot of different turns, right? So you just have to always be ready. You always have to be ready and have, a good disposition, and work hard, and you can succeed.
Thank you so much for spending time with us this afternoon. And I'm basically handing the screen over to you to share with us your final thoughts.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me, Richard. It's been like a pleasure. I always love to share, my life and my stories and my wisdom with everyone. And I just wish everyone like the best. You can be whoever you want to be. And I just wish that we lived in a nicer world, right? We have to be more tolerant and have more love in our heart, and the world would be a much better place. We all have to accept, life and celebrate it every day like we do. I mean, I'm sitting here right now in this interview with you, and if you saw my view, no, you have to see the view.
Yeah, are you able? I didn't want to interrupt you, but can you turn the camera around so people can actually?
Right. So this is why I have no time for nonsense, and I know people would say, "Oh, that's you that has this life." Right. No, like everything in life, you have to make your own life. It's you. Your decisions from before or your past doesn't determine your future or who you are today. I've had a lot of adversity. I've had a lot of bad things happen, but I've also had a lot of good things happen. So I want people to focus on the good, try to focus on the positive, make those negatives, turn them into positives, and just be happy. I mean, and it's up to us to be happy. Nobody's going to make us happy. We need to find our own happiness. And with that, I'm going to show you my view. Can you see it here? I'm like really bad at this.
Yeah. See, I'm getting chills. Look at that. But I also got to be honest with you. If that was my view, I could not work. I would just sit there and.
I was getting a little distracted when I was talking to you. Right, but the sunshine to me and the water is like so important. I mean, I know not everybody lives in South Florida. I understand that, but this is why people want to live here. One of the reasons. So, but yeah, you have to find your happiness, whether it's the water, whether it's the sun, whether it's the mood, whatever it may be, you know, we have to work on it every day.
Well, again, thank you so much. And hey, and of course, we wish you much success in the future.
Thank you. Same to all of you.
Thank you for joining us for part one of Latina Conference 2022, Connecting Latinas of Influence. Part two of the conference will be streamed online tomorrow at 3 p.m. on the West Coast. In case you missed any part of the conference, such as sponsor links, special guest bios, and other event details, they can be found on our website, HispanicLifestyle.com. Also, please invite a friend to join us for part two of Latina Conference 2022. Goodbye for now.